Welcome back to another episode of the Even Your Dynasty show. It is Wednesday morning. It is Blake Snell day on the mound. And as promised, I am putting out my Blake Snell video today on why I think the Giants should extend Blake Snell. Now, I'll address the elephant in the room, and that's for those of you that were following me all the way back in the offseason, I did put out a video back then that I didn't feel the Giants should sign Blake Snell. And some of the reasons for that he's shown throughout the season. He's had a little bit of trouble with injuries, some inconsistencies. Now, how much of that is related to him not having a true spring training and him signing super late into spring training, probably impacted him a ton. But it is something that he has battled throughout his career. Uh, but also the front end stuff that the front end of the rotation stuff he brings when he's on is pretty incredible. And I'm going to kind of run through kind of the reasons why I feel like it would make sense for the Giants to look to try and extend him for, whether that's a 4-year deal. I don't know what the contract would end up looking like. Maybe you have to go to 5 years. It gets a little tricky. I still wouldn't go give him some 7+ year contract or anything like that. But, depending on what you can get an extension done for, I'd be totally open to the idea of 4 or 5 years at a higher, AAV. So we're going to kind of go through those things. But first, as always, I appreciate the support from everybody. If you do enjoy the content we put out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on X at EYD Show. Click the bell for notifications if you want to be notified of when videos go out or when future videos go out. We do try and go live typically on either Thursday or Fridays. So it'll notify you on those. If you're following me on X, a lot of times that'll notify you if we go live because it'll post it on there as well. Please do subscribe to the channel and everything. It does help a lot, and it's going to help for future growth and us to do kind of some cooler stuff kind of down the road. But now getting back to the task at hand, one of the big reasons that I want to see Blake Snell extended at this point is one of my biggest complaints about the Giants kind of organization under Farhan Zaidi is it's been kind of a team without an identity. And, back in the 2010s, when the Giants were winning World Series and competing year in and year out, you knew that they were going to be a team that pitched well, that did a lot of little things well, situational hitting, solid defense. Like it was just they pitched really well and they made a lot of winning plays, is I think the best way I can put it. Currently, yes, they struggle with the, situational hitting and things like that. It's one of those biggest complaints I have about this team. It's part of the reason why I can't take them seriously as a contender. And I tweeted as much last night where they have got to be the worst team in the league with runners on third and less than 2 outs. Like it's putrid. I don't have a nice way of putting it. Like they are just abysmal. And I don't know if it's a coaching issue. I don't know if it's a, roster issue with the types of players they bring in. Couldn't tell you, but it's something that has to change. They have to fix that. But they can lean in on trying to have an elite pitching staff going forward. Because the way I look at the roster right now, currently you have Webb on a super team friendly contract. You have Robbie Ray, who is probably 99% opting in next season. I just don't think he's going to get enough of a showcase to justify opting out. Yes, he might possibly be able to get a third year on the open market, but he's not getting 25 million AAV. I mean, Marcus Stroman had more health and more recent success, and he got, 2 years and an option or 3 years at a lower AAV. And why would Ray take a lower AAV when he could, pitch 2 years in San Francisco where he should be able to be successful, and then when he hits free agency, still get another 2-year contract, maybe even 3, maybe 2 and an option. We've seen teams aren't really as scared off by the 35-year-old pitcher, 35, 36-year-old pitcher thing anymore as much as they used to be. So they still throw around a couple of years to those guys. So I think Ray is going to opt in. And then you have Harrison and Birdsong, as well as other young pitchers. Hopefully you're going to fill in the last 2 spots with some of the young guys. But right now, Harrison and Birdsong, taking up the last two spots in the rotation, who are both pre-arbitration and not going to be arbitration eligible for 2 years in Harrison's case, 3 years in Birdsong's case. And then even when they're arbitration eligible, they're not going to be that expensive. So just from a financial standpoint, you can afford to go hand Blake Snell 4 or 5 years at, whatever, 32, 33, 35, whatever million per year. And because of the way you're currently paying the rest of your rotation, you can afford that. And if he struggles, things are going to happen with his history. He'll probably have some good, he'll have some bad. But if you're paying that, by the time his contract is up, and by the time you have to pay guys like possibly redoing Logan Webb's deal or paying Harrison or paying Birdsong, paying those young guys, by the time you're having to worry about paying them, Ray's already going to be gone. And then Snell's contract's going to be up right about the same time that you're going to pay those guys. So it kind of times up well. So for me, try and see if you can get them on a higher AAV deal and see if you can get them locked down and really lean in on trying to have an elite pitching staff and starting rotation going forward. Build the identity that this team has lacked for years. And I think starting off with Blake Snell, that is an excellent spot. Now, I still have many concerns with Snell, the injuries, the inconsistencies, the high walk totals. There's a lot of things with Snell that concern me and others, but he's also a guy that, as he's shown in his last 5 starts, when he's on, is there anyone in the league you'd really rather see on the mound? Like, I love Logan Webb. He's one of my favorite Giants, but he is better suited to be a high-end number 2. Like, and I'm not saying this in any kind of disrespectful fashion. He's better suited to be a high-end number 2 because you're going to feel really good about Logan Webb going up against any team's number 2. Against the number 1, we've seen Webb get knocked around a good amount against good offenses. So, like, it's concerning. Now, he threw the ball well against the Dodgers in the playoffs a couple of years ago. I'm not saying he can't do well, but you would feel much better about Webb against the number 2 than you do against another team's ace. And then, vice versa with Snell. Snell feels like a guy that, yeah, he might only give you 5 or 6 innings, but you feel like you're going to get 5 or 6 innings and they're going to score no more than like 1, maybe 2 runs. So you feel like you can go against another team's ace and you are going to be in the game with Blake Snell on the mound. Like, that's just how it feels. At least for me watching him, that's how it feels. And especially if you have playoff and World Series aspirations, having that guy locked down who is a notorious second half pitcher, has done well in the playoffs, like, that's a kind of guy that I would want at the top of my rotation. So I think it makes sense to sign him long term. Now, let's just talk for a minute because I didn't put out a no-hitter video, talk a little bit about his last 5 starts. I mean, it's pretty incredible what the kind of run he's on right now. His last 5 starts, he's gone 33 innings. He has a 0.55 ERA. He has a 0.55 whip. He has 41 strikeouts. Somehow he only has 1 win in that span because, well, Camilo blew a save and couldn't score in a couple of them. And, or the bullpen coughed up 2 of them. So kind of unfortunate there. But I mean, and I think I said 41 strikeouts in that span. Who is the last Giants pitcher that we've seen go on a run like this? I mean, maybe Timmy back in his Cy Young years might have had a run like this where he 5 or 6 starts, he was just virtually unhittable. Maybe Madison Bumgarner, you talk about his World Series run. Specifically in the World Series, he had 21 innings and gave up 1 earned run. But I think the strikeout part of it is kind of the part that's just so ridiculous with Snell right now. I mean, in that span, in these last 5 starts, he's carried a perfect game into the 7th. He had a start where he went 6 innings and struck out 15 batters and induced over 30 swing and misses. And then against the Reds, he throws a no-hitter. I mean, the level of dominance in these 5 starts has been just absolutely incredible. So I just want to give massive props to Snell. I mean, I'm a person that I like to think that I try and stay as objective as possible. I'm going to give my honest opinions, but I always try and keep my, opinions fluid. Like I'm always willing to pivot if someone proves me wrong. And I genuinely feel like I was completely off with my Blake Snell feelings before the season. Now, I mean, some of it's justified, like I said, with the inconsistencies and so on. But I will own that one. That I've my opinion has completely changed. I said it the other day where like I've never had a player so drastically shift my opinion in such a short amount of time in a positive way. I've had plenty that thought that they were probably really good. And then I watched them and I went, oh God. And it went the other way. But I mean, it just hard to appreciate how truly dominant Blake Snell has been. I think the last time that I had a person that I just openly admit that I was just dead wrong on was I'll be the first to admit I was underwhelmed when they hired Bruce Bochy in 2007. I felt like it was kind of a retread hire. Hadn't been, he had done some impressive things in San Diego, winning the pennant, but it felt like a retread hire. I was dead wrong, and I'll own that. I'm not going to sit here and try and be revisionist history and tell everybody like, oh, I loved that hire from day one. No, I will be the first to admit that I did not, and I didn't love the Bob Melvin hire this year. If he proves me wrong, I would love to sit here and say the same thing about Bob Melvin that I said about Bruce Bochy. So that's my feelings on Snell, though, as to kind of why I think it makes sense, to lean in on the pitching and then build your roster from there. And then the timing of everything works out. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are. Drop the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what kind of contract you think, at what point you wouldn't do it. We'll probably do something kind of similar about Matt Chapman. I am kind of getting to the point where I feel like, giving him 3 or 4 years would be at a higher AAV would be smart. I still with Chapman, I would not give him 5. Like no chance I give him 5. But 3 or 4, same thing. Snell, I'd probably be a little more willing to go 5 just because of, as a pitcher, I think he'll age better than Chapman will. But tell me your guys' thoughts. As always, go Giants. We're going to try and keep putting out some good content. I do have plans to be on NorCal Sports Network tonight with Dan. So check us out there. I am planning to go to do a live show with our Dan tomorrow. So check that out. Like I said, click the bell for notifications so it'll send you the notification when we go live tomorrow, which will probably be 8:30-ish, 8 o'clock, 8:30, somewhere in that time frame. But appreciate everybody for checking us out and hanging out with us. We'll talk to you next time.